Last night, 60 Minutes aired a report using hidden footage that raised questions about how far some American lawyers might be willing to go to help bring questionable funds into the U.S. The story showed what happened when an investigator for Global Witness, a London-based nonprofit organization, went undercover 19 months ago. While posing as the representative of a phony African official, he met with more than a dozen New York law firms to get advice on moving tens of millions of dollars into the United States without the minister's name being revealed. He secretly recorded the conversations. Here is part of Steve Kroft's report.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
The undercover investigator, who called himself Ralph Kaiser, told the lawyers that the minister had used his official position to collect tens of millions of dollars in special payments from foreign companies to help them obtain valuable mineral rights. He wanted to move the money to the United States to buy a house, a jet, and a yacht.
So therefore, he wants to bring in the money into the U.S. So starting with a brownstone and then probably buying a Gulfstream jet. He wants to commission the building of a yacht and buy probably more property.
The story was intentionally devised to raise red flags and lead the lawyers to believe that the minister's money was dirty. During the meetings, only one of the 16 lawyers, Jeffrey Herman, told him no.
This ain't for me. My standards are higher.
The rest expressed varying degrees of interest, with most of them offering advice on how it could be done.
We do everything, soup to nuts. So there's no limitation. We don't say, oh, we don't do windows, or we don't deal with the financial money manager, whatever. No,
Right.
We orchestrate and organize the entire thing.
Right.
We're happy to take that responsibility.
What's important to point out, and it cannot be overstated, is that none of the lawyers we've shown you broke any laws, in part because the African minister didn't really exist, there were no hundreds of millions of dollars, and Global Witness's Charmian Gooch said no money ever changed hands.
So this is sort of a morality test.
It wasn't. It was a test on the system.
You know, people could make the argument, look, all these guys did really was just listen to this person that came into their office. They didn't make a deal. They didn't sign up. They said, we need to do some more research.
And you know what? They'd be absolutely right to say that, but they need to say something else too, which is that those lawyers laid out in often considerable detail a myriad of different ways to bring money into America.
None of the lawyers agreed to take on the African minister as a client, nor were they asked to. It was a preliminary meeting that ended with most of the attorneys expressing interest in continuing the dialogue and some enthusiastic about landing the business.
Steve Kroft joins us this morning. Good morning.
Morning, Nora.
An incredible piece to watch. So none of these lawyers technically broke any laws. How is that possible?
There was no crime. I mean, everything was fake. So no money changed hands. There was no minister. There were no millions of dollars. And so there was nothing to prosecute.
Yeah. Commissioner Bratton has a saying in New York, I've heard him say, it could look awful, but it's lawful. And when I was looking at that last night, I was sort of thinking that. But when you air the recordings, aren't those attorney-client privilege? How are we able to see that?
Well, it's strange. I didn't know this before we'd done the story, but the privilege really is there to protect the client, not to protect the lawyers. And the client, which in this case was Global Witness, they control the privilege. And if they said, we want to release the contents of this conversation with our lawyers, it's their right.
One of the lawyers was James Succanet, was it? And he's head of the Bar Association?
Was the head of the Bar Association at the time this happened, the American Bar Association. I think because he was head of the Bar Association and representing lawyers in the United States, I think that was the main reason. I mean, he was in a little bit different category, and because he was specifically selected, and also he was much more suspicious of the African minister than some of the other people, and he was much more cautious, he and his partner, Hugh Finnegan, about moving forward. They said that they didn't participate in anything in which any criminal activity was involved.
But only one lawyer, though, Mr. Herman, I thought he was great, where he said, this ain't for me, my standards are higher. Was that surprising to you?
Very surprising.
Yeah, that there was only one.
Only one.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the other lawyers expressed some concern that they didn't want to get in trouble, that they knew that there were legal issues involved.
But then, Steve, they came up with ideas after they expressed concern.
And then they went on to give advice.
Right. So what do you think the end result of this is? Do you think legislation will be proposed? There seems to be a gaping loophole.
Well, I think the Bar Association will probably step in and do something. I think that they need to tighten up some of their own regulations. They have a bit of a PR problem here, I think. The other thing is that there is legislation. The reason it's so easy, and it is $300 billion of money gets laundered in the United States every year, and it's because it's the easiest place in the world.
And why is that?
Because you don't have to list who the beneficial owner is of the company. When you file the incorporation paper, you don't have to say who actually owns it. You can put down the names of the secretaries in the office.
Yeah, when people buy real estate in America, they do that often.
They do it, and there's nothing illegal about setting up limited liability corporations as long as you're doing it for, to protect yourself against liability or protect your privacy. But if you do it to conceal a criminal act, very different. Then it's money laundering.
All right.
Eye-opening indeed.
Thank you, Steve Kroft.
Thank you.